Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Sideshow Collectibles X-Men 1/6 scale figure unboxing and review video. Now yes, I caved and I finally picked up the Astonishing X-Men variant of Cyclops. I picked up the Wolverine, and while he wasn't perfect, he's still a very unique, classic look for Wolverine on the shelf. I had to get Cyclops to go along with him. Now unfortunately, this guy was released in super limited quantities. I'm pretty sure they only made 350 worldwide, and he's long since sold out. So I had to hit up eBay and I paid an arm and a leg for him. He was brand new and sealed though, so at the very least he'll be minty fresh. What we are going to do now though is get the box laying flat in the light box and do the unboxing. Here of course we have the box art for Cyclops. Now unfortunately this box is identical to the one that we got with this particular Cyclops, the 90s style Jim Lee version. This isn't even the one that's inside the box. Now granted, we do have the Astonishing X-Men sticker on the front, so you're supposedly supposed to know which one you're getting, but I don't think that's enough to differentiate him. I wouldn't have minded at the very least a different picture here. On the back, we do have an image of him from the comics, but in a completely different costume once again. But either way, at the very least, we are getting a ton of awesome artwork on the inside here. Say what you will about them not changing the images on the outside, I'm loving the comic book artwork. We have a bunch of different panels both on the outside and also on the inside, which you'll see in just a second. Now we also have this slipcover piece that says Cyclops, as you can see. You do just simply slide that off, and then you can get access to the figure himself. Now I'm not entirely sure if they will be continuing the Astonishing X-Men line, but we'll have to wait and see. Now before we get the figure out here, it's worth taking a look at the images on the inside. We've got of course a bunch more comic panels. I love the super vibrant, colourful look of the insides at least of these Sideshow X-Men boxes. Up on top we do have Cyclops in his Astonishing X-Men getup. Now the reason why I was initially hesitant was because the costume is rather simple and straightforward. It's literally a blue suit with a couple of gold accents. How does he compare to the original one? We'll see throughout the course of the video. Now of course he does come with 1 and 2 trays, so what we are going to do now is get all of his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Here we have all of the parts and pieces for Cyclops. Now starting off with the display base first, it's the usual Sideshow style base, love it or hate it. We do have a crotch grabber up on top and a completely blank top surface. It's literally just done in a matte black. Now I would normally say it's a little bit boring. I'm going to go slightly further and say that it's just simply lazy. They could have printed a Danger Room style floor on here, or even, if they really wanted to cheap out, just put the Astonishing X-Men sticker from the front of the box on the display base, just to differentiate it and make it look a little bit cooler, because as it stands, it's super simple and super boring. Now he does come with one really awesome accessory, being his optic blast. Now the only real difference between the original version and this one is that the visor piece is done in a gunmetal / metallic silver. I love the way this looks. I loved it originally and I love it here. It's got a darker reddish pink towards the top here, and it fades to a lighter color towards the visor. I really would have loved for them to include that alternate visor piece that we got with the special edition, with that little flame that's just coming out the side, because of course this is a super limited special edition as well, and it's a different color, so it wouldn't have affected the value of the 90s version. You do also get an array of hands. They're all unique sculpts, they're nicely painted, and they all come with their own individual wrist pegs. That's one thing that I love about these Sideshow figures, is that they do give you a bunch of spare pegs already pegged into the hands, specifically when they would be really difficult to switch out because it's a longer glove. I really wish other companies such as Hot Toys would start doing this. What we are going to do now though is get Cyclops himself out here and take a closer look. Here we have him standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. And yeah, it does what it says on the tin. It's a pretty darn good representation of the astonishing X-Men version of Cyclops. Now, for me, this is not the Cyclops that I know and love. I much prefer the animated series version, and I'm probably going to tell you that a few more times throughout the course of the video, just to make you aware of the fact that this is all new to me. I'm not a long-time comic book reader, so I have zero exposure to this look. But that being said, in terms of a figure, it works. It's a clean, simple design. I like the optic blast accessory. I wish he came with more effects, but I'm glad that he comes with it. And overall, I love the body choice. His proportions are fantastic. This is the exact same body that they used for that animated series one, and it worked perfectly there as well. What we are going to do now, though, is take him off the rotating turntable, punch in, and take a closer look at the details. Here we have him up close and personal. Now, thankfully, the outfit is relatively simple, so we won't have to spend a ton of time in this particular view. But starting off with the head sculpt first, to be totally honest, this was one of the reasons I was on the fence about the figure. I think the pictures didn't really do it justice, and I know it's probably going to be a 50-50 split on those who like it and those who don't. The expression is rather interesting. There are a ton of wrinkles kind of sculpted in folds on the face, and that's why I wasn't loving it. But in hand, I'm starting to come around. It has a very stoic, stern expression. And when you take the visor off and switch it out for the optic blast, I think it works a treat. This is absolutely how I'm going to be having my Cyclops displayed in the collection. The only thing, like I said earlier, that I would have loved for them to include would have been that smoking piece out the side there, like they did for the exclusive version of the original. Now, yes, you can see a difference in color and texture between the cap on his head versus the outfit, but at a distance in the display, it's totally a non-issue. As for the outfit, it's entirely one seamless suit. It's done in this dark navy blue with this gold lining around the front. I really like the way it looks. I didn't at first, but I have started to enjoy how simple and clean it is. He does have a gold belt with the X on the front, some more gold on the gloves, and a few more rings down on his boots. Now, they have done a split-cut boot design, but they pretty much could have just not, because you don't really get a ton of range. They are super stiff and sturdy, these pieces don't move up any higher, so you barely get any tilt or forward and back whatsoever. Overall, this design isn't the best, most exciting Cyclops design that I've ever seen, but still, in figure format, I personally think it works. Now for a quick side-by-side comparison, here we have the astonishing version of Cyclops alongside the astonishing version of Wolverine, and these two look awesome standing together, and it makes sense, they were made to be posed on the same shelf. The designs just work. I personally am a bigger fan of the 90s style just because it reminds me of the animated series. I grew up watching it, so of course I have a little bit more love for it, but these designs are still really cool. And for Cyclops, it's very unique. Wolverine is rather similar to the tiger stripe look, but for Cyclops here, it is very different. Speaking of which, here we have that 90s version, and I'm always reminded of how much I love this figure whenever I bring him out of the cabinet. I love the body that they've gone with. You can see the veins and the musculature underneath the suit. It's big, but not overly so. Then the head sculpt, it just works. It's simple yet effective. I love the sculpt of the hair, the paint applications are on point. and then the super punchy, vibrant colors of the outfit make this guy stand out. Whenever you walk into the room and you look at the X-Men shelf, your eyes are immediately drawn to that guy. Can the same thing be said for the Astonishing version? No, I don't think it can be, and that's not really to the figure's detriment, it just goes to show how good the 90s version truly is. If you are a massive fan of the Astonishing X-Men look, then totally go for it, but the only real reason why I picked it up is because I'm a bit of a completionist. I have the Wolverine, I really like that look, so I had to get the Cyclops, but if I wasn't, I'd have to be a little bit hard-pressed to say that I'd go ahead and pick this guy up. Just going over articulation on Cyclops. Now bear in mind this is my personal copy of the figure, so I'm going to be a little bit more careful. Also, if you've seen the other Cyclops video, this guy is pretty much identical. Now starting off the head sculpt, there is a split cut design here, so you do have a joint independent of the neck itself, going all the way forward and getting a ton of range back. You also have swivel and pivot side to side. The arms will go up to about there. They will of course go forward and back on soft ratchets. There is a butterfly joint at the shoulder, a double bend at the elbow, plus a swivel at the bicep. We also have a regular 1/6 scale style wrist peg. As for the torso, it crunches forward and back on one upper joint and a second down below, swivel and pivot side to side. The legs go forward the full way, but unfortunately mine do drop down and they don't stay all the way up. They go out on ratchets pretty much the full way, swivel at the upper thigh, a double bend at the knee, which is super stiff and sturdy, and then lastly a split cut boot design for a ball joint at the ankle. Just wrapping up on the Sideshow Astonishing X-Men version of Cyclops. Now right off the bat, I'm going to tell you this is still not my preferred version of the character. I like the animated one better. But I am still glad that I picked him up. He complements the Astonishing X-Men version of Wolverine perfectly. They look awesome standing side by side. Even though I know nothing about the comics, the designs just mesh awesomely. Now, granted, I do hope they continue this line and we get a bunch more characters, but it seems like they are gradually slowing down so that they only have one figure, Gambit, still on pre-order. I was hoping for a Storm and a Rogue and various other characters from the X-Men, but unfortunately I don't think that's going to happen, but fingers and toes are crossed. I would love to be able to tell you that this guy was in stock somewhere, but they only made 350 and they were all sold, so I had to resort to finding one on eBay, which was incredibly expensive, so I don't recommend it unless this is a character you really need to add to your display, or you're a completionist like me. But at the end of the day, even though I prefer the other design, this guy is still badass, and I do not regret picking him up whatsoever. If you are heading down to the description, check out the link to 6 Scale Network, the awesome Facebook group. Come along, chat figures, share photos of your collection, and of course, see what's coming up next on the channel. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.